Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on the first FOREXT Friday webinar of this new series in 2026. Today's session focuses on Marteloscopes in Europe and how they can support forest advisors. My name is Kaczmarek. I'm a junior expert at European Forest Institute, and I will be your moderator today. So, Europe forests are under constant pressure. Extreme wildfires, biodiversity loss, and land degradation are affecting forest ecosystems across the whole continent. At the same time, forests are expected to protect biodiversity, store carbon, and provide renewable resources. But meeting this expectation is becoming increasingly complex. Forest owners and managers must adapt to changing environmental conditions. Navigating this landscape requires access to knowledge, practical guidance, and up-to-date scientific evidence. Therefore, forest advisors play a crucial role in connecting research, policy, and on-the-ground forest management. The tools presented today during today's webinar are designed to support advisors and forest owners in making informed decisions and building more resilient forests for the future. And this is one of the reasons why we have FOREXT Fridays, to exchange this knowledge and connect better across Europe. This FOREXT Friday webinar series is in collaboration between FOREXT Network and the FORADVISE project. The FOREXT Network brings together forest advisors across Europe to strengthen their capacity in training and supporting forest owners. This FOREXT Fridays webinar wouldn't be possible without the support of our FOREXT members. I invite you all to learn more about the members on the FOREXT website. Like I mentioned before, this series in collaboration with the FORADVISE. For those of you who don't know FORADVISE, it's a Horizon Europe project focused on strengthening and expanding forest advisory network across Europe. It brings together different organizations, experts, and as well stakeholders to modernize the forestry sector, improve forestry capacities, and speed up the knowledge flow. In today's session, we will explore three different presentations, one general introduction from Andreas Schuck, and two case studies from Ireland and Germany. Let's learn together about different approaches on working with Marteloscopes from experts from EFI, Teagasc, and Wald and Holz.
So what are Marteloscopes? The term derives from the French, and or it was also developed in France and brings together the two words of marteau, the hammer, or martelage, the hammering of a tree, and scopain from Greek to look closer at this hammering, and in principle looking closer at a selection of a tree for a certain treatment. So usually these sites, these Marteloscopes, are 1 hectare rectangular. There's also the possibility to have some smaller sites, half a hectare, or depending on the site specifics, high number of trees, it could also be a bit smaller, but usually 1 hectare to allow for good training. In these delineated areas, all trees are mapped, numbered, and recorded. And what do we record? This is the data that is the basic information that is assessed in the field and also derived from this assessed data. You can see tree species, tree location within the plot, the tree status, standing. Is it a dead tree or is it a dead tree in the stand, standing dead wood? The diameter, tree height, crown base height, so the first stronger branch, kind of showing where the crown then starts. Timber quality is then also assessed ocular, usually together with an expert from the region where we are, or from the enterprise where the site is assessed or built. So to get a good indication on the timber quality as it is in that particular area or in that particular region of a country. And it's a very simple classification, as you see, A, B, C, D. That is then also specified from A as a high quality to fuel wood, and by section lengths, 5 meter B, 3 meter C, rest is firewood. That would be a designation of a tree. And then we link it to current prices for such different wood classifications by tree species. Further, for having an indicator also on biodiversity and conservation in managed forest, we have the tree microhabitats. For that, there are catalogs that are used to assess those in the field, and through a calculation method, we also get a point score for each tree relating to tree microhabitats, which then indicates kind of a habitat value against the economic value. The demonstration site network started out as only a few sites in a project that we did quite 10 plus years ago, where we wanted to just demonstrate what you can do in such networks, in such sites, and then it had a kind of a life of its own. It was seen by many as a very valuable tool for conveying certain contexts, and the number of sites then grew over the years to what we have now, about nearly 300 sites in 28 European countries, one of which is even on the other side of the Atlantic now in Ontario in Canada. So even there, it's without big advertisement, seemingly this is spreading also to other continents. We have a wide variety also of sites. It's not that it has to be a particular site. It's up to those who want to establish such a Marteloscope on what they want to train. It can be in a younger stand, it can be in an old stand, it can be 3 different development stages where you do 3 small sites. So it's very open to serve then your particular needs. And I've just put a few images from different parts of Europe where we have these sites that you can see they are quite different in their forest types and forest structures and development phases. So what do we do with these sites? I mean, once they're established, you can actually send to us at the European Forest Institute the data, and we can put it into a database. And through that, we can link it to a tool, kind of a tablet tool, which is you can use in the forest to then perform what we call virtual tree selection exercises in these sites with particular target groups, and also on particular topics that the trainer will then select or has set out. So the software, as you can see on the bottom picture, and also the colleagues on the top in Italy, they are using it, they have it in their hand, and they have been discussing on what to do with tree number 42. Is it something would they want to remove it for a certain purpose, or would they want to retain it for another purpose? So this is then what is done when you start the exercise. You now do that selection process, and after some time, everyone comes back together, and the software allows to retrieve then your virtual interventions directly in the field. And of course, then at the end, we have a very extensive time so that the groups can present their outcomes and also discuss the results of the different groups. So what we always call, it's the discussion of between the groups, and the participant is at the heart of each of these trainings. So how does it work? Here you can see on the left, there's an introduction to Marteloscopes, to the forest site, where we are, what is the context. Then the software is introduced. Then you conduct the exercise. On the bottom left, you see this group pair of foresters also in heavy discussion. Then they retrieve the results, and then at the end, the different groups come together and share the results with the tablets, and then discuss on differences in their interventions. Here an example exercise, just one from close to Bonn, where we have a site, removal of a certain amount of wood, limit the number of trees, but ensure high quality timber, and identify 5 habitat trees. And then you can see the forester here is examining the tree, which looks quite high quality. But the whole thing and the process is so that different trees have different values, different in terms of economics and ecology. So there's a trade-off then going on between which trees to remove or which trees to retain. And in the course of differences, that is then something to discuss amongst each other and give the indications and the reasoning why you have done certain selection processes. So this just to show you how it works. On the left side, you have the mask where you then do your selections. There you have you can see retention, removal. Then you can choose a certain activity. Is the target diameter reached, or is it a habitat tree? And then it will record that. And once you're done, you go to the menu and you choose the exercise results. You get different tables, graphs before the intervention, after the intervention. In these terms here, you can see how much volume has been removed and so on, or how has your diameter distribution changed, or how have the distribution of my microhabitats evolved after I've done my intervention. Which ones have I removed and which ones have I retained? And it also prints it out in a PDF, the whole exercise results, so that can then also be shared with all other participants and is a basis for further trainings to improve them, or also to share them with many others to make them interested in such activities. So just here a list of types of trainings that is then very much up to the instructor. Depends on the topics. The target groups can be something very simple, or it can also be something very complex, bringing in other things like deadwood, carbon stocks, and other topics, or this value in different ecosystem services. But that is then up to the trainer, the instructor, to then define that particular training goal and what kind of themes he wants to then also further discuss. So just here a few examples. Also, it's very diverse. In the left top, we had a forest extension visit some years ago, so that was more in an excursion style. Then here we have an outdoor forest training which done by Jonathan, who will speak later, in Ireland. Here, this very, very well set up approach in Germany from silvicultural trainers, where the results were even shown on a screen, so everyone could see that very nicely. And they were sitting there, and the groups were presenting their results. Ukraine has established a nice network, and here they presented to the administrations for hopefully then expanding that network from the Lviv region to into other regions as well once things have come back to normal. Also here, students teaching students, they have established sites, and then this ProSilva youth student group are teaching their fellow students in a Marteloscope that they applied. And here is me outside with secondary school kids, which also very much appreciate and very much like to go to the forest and use these tools. And it's an easy way to get them to understand forest dynamics, ecology, and economy. So just here, I think this is my second last slide. New tools are developed regularly, so you can then expand your training activities to also topics like deadwood regeneration, carbon. There's even a small modeling approach inside now in the tablet. Soil carbon, or also forest protection, have now been also made available in the software, which then allows you to further expand your teaching modules. So concluding remarks, the sites, the feedback that we receive and from those implementing trainings and those participating is a powerful tool for training, education, knowledge transfer, and especially also communication, also of different stakeholder groups in one exercise. It's forests allow a much better communication in the field, and then you have data behind everything, and it's not my best guess, and the one who's the loudest is the one who's right. They allowed for fact-based discussions. That's what I meant, and because we have those results then readily available in the field. Marteloscopes are finding application in silviculture training curricula, both in universities, in applied universities, but also in foresters in training. Also, secondary schools are more and more asking us for visits to these sites. There's a continuous feedback we receive that helps us develop the tool further. That's what we like to collect. That's why many of the things that we have now available are now available, because we got this feedback from the participants and the trainers. Also, the Marteloscope data, when you imagine 300 sites times 300 trees, that's a lot of trees. So it's a very valuable database, which is now being used quite a bit also in research and published in peer-reviewed papers. So the software tools and the Marteloscopes are being applied more and more and further developed in projects. So it is a tool that is also often needed in projects to then communicate your results. And as I said already, it also is finding now interest outside of Europe, where we have been mainly focusing on with our European Marteloscope network. Thank you very much.
Okay, just a little bit of context. My name, as Franciszek said, is Jonathan Spazzi, and I'm with the Teagasc Forestry Development Unit, which is a state-funded forestry extension agencies, and we are integrating advisory, research, and education in one, which is quite special to have. So our main stakeholders are forest owners. So we focus on forest owners, and our main objective is the rollout of the National Forestry Programme. I work as a development officer, as Franciszek said, but I also work closely with our research department, and I participate to a number of European research projects. I previously worked as a consultant forester in Ireland on close to nature management, and I now provide support to forest owners, especially in the Southwest region, and I have a national role in relation to close to nature management, education and training. It is fair to say that in Ireland, we're seeing a rapid evolution of forestry. There's been growing interest amongst forest owners as well as foresters on integrated management, which gives a great opportunity. And also there's been matched by an increased interest and is increasingly supported by national and European policies. However, the main barriers to the application of integrated management remains a lack of expertise, knowledge, know-how amongst forest users, foresters, foresters, contractors. And in order to progress further, we need to address this point. So in the next few minutes, hopefully I'll keep within the 10 minutes, I will give you a flavor of our Marteloscope resource, how we use that for this purpose, and also other development projects that I've been involved in Teagasc in collaboration with colleagues and also in collaboration with other organizations in Ireland and across Europe in promoting integrated management. Again, for a bit of context, this is from a training and development need analysis that I carried out a few years ago. When we look at integrated management, in essence, we look at innovation. We are changing practices, changing perspective, we're changing minds. So if we take a look at the recent evidence on innovation science, we see that innovation moves through distinct stages, development stages, similar, I find, to forest natural development stages. So from a seed idea, inspiration and planning, will get us to a development stage, and from there, through realization and dissemination, we reach embedding, which is the ultimate aim of our education process, where the practice becomes normalized. So through this process, we require a steady flow of information, and this can take three basic forms: transfer, exchange, and co-creation, and they're quite different. Transfer and exchange are important to achieve development, with co-creation becoming critical to progress from development to embedding. So I think in Ireland, we probably just passed the development stage. So enter the Integrate Network Marteloscope resource, and thank you, Andreas, for introducing it so well. So I first encountered it in 2018 when I first met Andreas in Ireland as part of a Close to Nature seminar organized by Teagasc, and I immediately saw the potential to our context. I took action, and I was able to secure funding in 2019, which led to the installation of 3 Marteloscope plots within Teagasc, managed by Teagasc. This is the very first workshop that we ran, Marteloscope training, during COVID, plenty of social distancing at the time. The Marteloscope network, the Marteloscope resource, was eventually officially launched by the then Minister for Forestry, Pippa Hackett, and the Director of Teagasc, Frank O'Mara, in 2022. So this is a view of the current plot network. In red, you see the plots developed by Teagasc, one in Corachase Forest in partnership with Quilta, with the State Forestry Board, and 2 plots in the Forest of Oak Park, which is the Teagasc National Research Centre. In green, you see 5 more plots developed by Quilta for the training of their own staff. It is part of a European network, as Andrea highlighted, that when I joined, counted just over 100 plots. Now we have almost 300, so the network has literally exploded over the last few years. And I have to say, I want to take this opportunity to say that I'm very grateful. We're very grateful to the Integrate Network for all the support over the years. And I also had the pleasure and the honor to serve as the chair of the network together with Dermot Dunphy of the Department of Agriculture last year. So this is a closer look to our training facility in Oak Park, which is the Teagasc National Research Centre. This initiative is funded by Teagasc directly, working closely with the Integrate Network. And we really aim to take a co-creation approach here through learning from doing, peer-to-peer learning, discussion, and sharing experiences. I've been coordinating this project since 2019, but it's very much a team effort and includes many colleagues from Teagasc forestry units: Francis McHugh, Noel Kennedy, Padraig O'Leary, Derek Gibson, Kevin O'Connell, just to mention a few. We host over 100 participants every year. And even though we focus on forest owners, we also include foresters, students, researchers, plus we host a number of international visiting groups every year. The workshop we capped at 20 participants for quality, and they are really hands-on practical exercises on integrated management. We have developed 2 workshops, as you see in the slide, which are separate but interconnected. One on the index of biodiversity potential, and one more classic workshop on Marteloscope training. Also, we have an exciting new collaboration, project called Seaman Forest, led by INRE and the European Forestry Institute, which is aiming to combine new modeling simulation software with Marteloscope fields exercises. These are just a range of pictures to give you a flavor of what we're doing in those plots. You will see down here, for example, foresters, workshop for foresters and forestry inspectors from the Department of Agriculture. We have groups with forest owners, researchers, and foresters mixed. Also, we have senior management in Teagasc joining workshop with forest owners. And on the top left is a group of students mixed with department officials. This is an associated, very interesting associated project that I've been involved in facilitating with colleagues in Teagasc, particularly with the researcher Ian Short. The Forest Move for Change is a virtual classroom project. It's a free interactive online course on close to nature management. It was developed in Teagasc in association with 3 more developing agencies in Europe, specializing on close to nature management, and it was coordinated by Forest Nature in Belgium. And it developed an 8 weeks online interactive program, which to date has hosted more than 16,000 participants in 3 languages in the last 2 to 3 years. The last 8-week session ended in January this year, and we are planning a new session in September. Of course, running through the Integrated Management Promotion Program, matching the Marteloscope Training Initiative, has been, as I mentioned, acting as a chair of the Integrate Network last year, and the main highlight of the year was organizing a successful annual meeting in Dublin, where we decided to take an interactive approach and to invite a number of forest owners, being our main stakeholders, to attend and to participate and share perspectives with researchers, practitioners, and policymakers. During the 3-day meeting, we also ran an interactive exercise in Oak Park Marteloscope facility, which I presented, focusing on the intakes of biodiversity potential. We ran a survey methodology workshop with delegates, which was well received. And this in turn led to a successful European trainer workshop organized by the Integrate Network in Germany this spring. I was at it myself, very, very enjoyable on the same subject, which I think, talking of co-creation has been a great example of organic development, collaboration, and an effective co-creation at play at European level. Finally, just to maybe pick out some pointers for discussion through our webinar, by no means exhaustive, the importance of mixing forest users through Marteloscope exercises. For best discussion is probably the first thing I would comment on. Efficient registration and feedback collection. Since we develop such systems, our life has been much easier, and we focus much more effectively on the content. In the integration of online training offering within Forest Marteloscope has been an interesting synergy. We've seen participants to Marteloscope workshop turn up to online training and vice versa. Definitely the need to develop a team around the project. A team effort is essential, and it takes a lot of time, not just to deliver the workshops, but to maintain the plots, manage the plots. And we are currently in the process of remeasuring most of the plots and managing the plots. And we're discovering opportunities for to incorporate research into the educational programs through the remeasurements and the monitoring and the management and the plots. And last but not least, I would say really how important, how essential is to keep the European collaboration, the conversation open for knowledge sharing. And I think this webinar is a good example of this approach. So thank you for your attention.
So I will talk about my work in Marteloscopes over the last 10 years. We use Marteloscopes in North Rhine-Westphalia and the forest administration as tools for stakeholder engagement. I will talk a bit more about that. I just want to give a very quick introduction to forests in my state, North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany, which is the most densely populated state of Germany with almost 18 million inhabitants. So we have lots of stakeholders who are interested in our forests, and we have only 900,000 hectares, maybe it's about 27% forest, which is 127,000 hectares are state-owned, which means that we have lots of private forest owners who are our main target group in the work that we do in applied research and knowledge transfer. In the last years, we had kind of a special situation. We had more than 133,000 hectares of damaged area due to storms, drought, and bark beetles since 2018, which made about 45 million cubic meters of calamity timber since 2018 up to 2022. So our current focus is on reforestation and now also on the reforested areas on thinning or tending to the young stands. And on the right, you can see our current tree species combination. We did have 30% spruce. Now we have 18% spruce. So for the first time in a long time, we have more broadleaf trees than conifers in our state, which are mostly oak and beech. Now for the history of Marteloscopes in North Rhine-Westphalia. Our first Marteloscope in Bonn was established in 2017. And this was done by very motivated foresters in Bonn. And 1 year later, I joined the team, silviculture, and my then boss told me, Carolin, please establish 1 or 2 more Marteloscopes. And I'm really happy he did that, because since then I've been enthusiastic about this topic. And with the help of our employees and also lots of bachelor's and master's students and EFI, we have in the last 10 years established 9 more Marteloscopes, 3 of which are not in use anymore. In 2021, we also finally professionalized our system by acquiring tablets to start our training in a more organized manner. And since then, we have had lots of different stakeholder groups in the Marteloscopes, and the interest, it seems like, is only growing. Also, we updated the data of a few Marteloscopes by now. We try to do it about every 5 years. Our active Marteloscopes in North Rhine-Westphalia, as you can see, we try to distribute them kind of evenly over the state. And we have pretty diverse tree species. Most are broadleaf, oak, hornbeam, oak, beech, or sycamore maple, but we also have a Scots pine Marteloscope with birch and a birch succession forest. We try to have a high variability in locations, site conditions, species, and ages. However, mostly it's older stands because they have more microhabitats to show. We had also 2 spruce Marteloscopes. They are completely lost in the bark beetle and drought calamity. And 1 beech Marteloscope in Bonn. This stopped being usable because the natural regeneration grew super high and you couldn't see the trees anymore. On the right, you can see a soil profile. We try to do a fine mapping of soil in each Marteloscope. This is not obligatory, but we decided to do this because the site is very important for silvicultural decisions, and we also have a soil profile next to the Marteloscope. Now, which groups are we training? You can see on the right our silvicultural concept of the state North Rhine-Westphalia. We are training by this concept, which recommends mixed forest stands of different types. And we offer our seminars and trainings often over our forestry education program, Forstliches Bildungsprogramm, which comes out every year. But also we have lots of direct requests for groups to come and have a training with us. And our main target group in general, like I said, are forest owners, but also the foresters of our own institution of Wald und Holz NRW. A big group which is important to us is, of course, the young foresters and forest workers in training. And also, we often have conservationalists that are interested in doing such a training. Recently, we had more and more university students, not only of forestry, but also of different kinds, like landscape ecology, geography, nature conservation, and agricultural sciences, which leads always to very, very interesting discussions because everyone has a different lens they are looking through at the forest. Then we also had high school students, Andreas also showed it, and adult education centers. And of course, it's also open to interested citizens. And we had 2 Marteloscopes that have been used in the social study Martelcom by EFI. And yeah, the result was that it's a good place to exchange perspectives, also with moderately critical groups. Here in Arnsberg, where I work, we had a critical group. They were conservationalists, and still, in the end, they said it was a really interesting and eye-opening experience. Yeah, Andreas already said a lot how it works, and we do it kind of similarly. And also, like Jonathan said, we focus on groups of maximum 20 people. Everything above gets too much and too chaotic. And we put people mostly in pairs, and we have about 2 hours in total. We introduce the stand at the soil profile, so it's already known that this is like the most important thing to decide which tree species to have and to plant. The forest stand is described mostly by the participants themselves. And we discuss already what are aims of potential thinning of this stand. And then we look together at the tablet and at the app. And for the young foresters and young students, it's mostly very easy to get into. And then we do the exercise. We try to carry out a trial thinning, sometimes across the entire area, sometimes just half, depending on time. And we set aims in the beginning, like a trial thinning about whatever target figure we have in cubic meters, 10 habitat trees per hectare, and then we have to make a note of a tree that maybe warrants some discussion. After about 1 hour, we meet and discuss our results and insights, and sometimes we visit some trees together and discuss them and draw our conclusions. Stakeholder feedback, it's been pretty diverse. We have foresters, sometimes they come into the Marteloscope and are skeptical because they think they already know how to do this, but many afterwards say, okay, this was really helpful to train the eye for microhabitats and also to calibrate their own thoughts and assessments. Some wonder, is the microhabitat aspect maybe too emphasized, but after training they realize it's pretty easy to implement and doesn't make a big difference in financial outcome. Young foresters love this practical training, and also combined with the app, it's very motivating to them. Their results don't really differ greatly from their own pre-assessment, so they are pretty enthusiastic also about marking habitat trees and the integrative aspect in general. Conservationalists, they come often with the interest in trying out thinking like a forester. Some are still slightly skeptical. Do we really want to consider conservational aspects, or do we just claim that? But in fact, it's very ingrained into our young foresters, this thinking, this integrative thinking of conservational aspects into forest decisions. Citizens can also be very interested and give only mostly positive feedback. I've noticed that smaller and more homogeneous groups tend to be more focused. We had bigger mixed groups. They have varied results. Sometimes it's really interesting and positive. Sometimes there are people who focus on only listening to the forester in the group. This is something I would prefer that everyone can voice their opinion in this discussion. So we found pairs of two are a good way to do it. We verify with these groups the silvicultural decisions and train the eye to recognize microhabitats. So I would say the mission is accomplished to integrate aspects of nature conservation into our forest decisions. And I'm also thanking the Integrate Network and especially Andreas for the great work over the last years. And I hope we can keep doing it. Now, I will leave you also with some impressions from some trainings and also interesting microhabitats we found in our Marteloscopes. And if you have any questions, you can also contact me directly. Thank you so much.